The first thing I heard wasn't music, it was laughter. Loud, sharp, cutting laughter echoing across the ballroom like glass shattering. And then, his voice. "Let's all raise a toast," my sister's groom said, gripping the microphone with a smirk, "to my beautiful bride and to her sister who proves not everyone gets a happy ending." More laughter. My chest tightened. He turned his head slightly, eyes locking on me across the room. "You know," he continued, "it takes real courage to show up as a, what was it again?" He pretended to think. "Oh right, a pathetic single mom." The room erupted. And before I could even process it, my own mother leaned toward her table, laughing harder than anyone else. "She's like a discount model," she added loudly, raising her glass. "Looked good once, now just a scratched label. 200 guests, 200 people laughing. At me." And I sat there, frozen, while my 12-year-old son squeezed my hand under the table. I wasn't always that woman. The one people whispered about. The one seated in the back corner like an afterthought. There was a time when I was the pride of my family. I was the responsible one. The strong one. The one who stayed when everyone else ran. My younger sister, Emily, had always been the golden child. Beautiful, charming, effortlessly loved. Where I had to fight for approval, she received it without asking. Still, I never resented her. I helped her with school. I defended her when she made mistakes. I even gave up my own opportunities so she could have hers. And when I got married, for a brief moment, I thought my life had finally aligned. But life doesn't ask for permission before it breaks you. My husband left when our son Daniel was just 3. No warning. No explanation. Just a note on the kitchen counter and an empty closet. I became a single mother overnight. And instead of support, my family gave me judgment. "You should have chosen better," my mother would say. "You must have done something wrong," Emily would add casually, like she was commenting on the weather. Every holiday, every gathering, I became the cautionary tale. And when Emily announced her engagement to Ryan, a wealthy, polished, perfect man, my role in the family became even smaller. Invisible. Unless they needed someone to laugh at. The first red flag should have been the invitation. Not what it said, but where it placed us. Table 27. At the very back of the ballroom, near the service doors. Far enough that we could hear everything, but be seen by no one. I remember staring at the seating chart, my fingers tracing the elegant calligraphy of everyone else's names. Family tables up front, friends in the center. And then, us. Like an afterthought. Daniel looked up at me. "Mom, did we do something wrong?" I forced a smile. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes people just organize things differently, but deep down I knew we weren't meant to belong there." The ceremony itself was beautiful. White roses, soft music, perfect lighting. Emily looked like she had stepped out of a magazine. And for a moment, I allowed myself to feel happy for her. Maybe, I thought, things would be different now. Maybe she had grown. Maybe tonight, we could just be sisters again. But the reception shattered that illusion. It started small. Whispers at nearby tables. Side glances. A few people recognizing me, then quickly looking away. Then came the comments. "Oh, you're Emily's sister, right? The one with the situation? That must be hard, not sympathy. Curiosity. Like I was a story they had heard, and now finally got to see in person." And then Ryan took the stage. At first, his speech was everything you'd expect. Charming, funny, polished. He praised Emily. He thanked the guests. He joked about marriage. People loved him. But then, his tone shifted. Subtly, dangerously. And of course, he said, smiling wider, every family has its unique characters. A few chuckles. He glanced in my direction. And I have to say, meeting Emily's sister has been eye-opening. The room grew quieter. "I mean, it really puts things into perspective," he continued. "You realize how important it is to make the right choices in life." My heart started pounding. "And how easily things can go wrong if you don't." Then came the line. The one that broke everything. A pathetic single mom. Laughter, my mother's voice cutting through it. A discount model with a scratched label. More laughter. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My hands trembled. My eyes burned. But I didn't cry. Not yet, because Daniel was still holding my hand, and I refused to break in front of him. But inside, something was cracking. Years of humiliation. Years of being blamed. Years of being treated like I was less. All of it, piling up in that moment. I looked around the room. People I had known my entire life. People who had watched me grow up. People who knew my story. And yet, they were laughing. Not one person stood up. Not one person said, "That's enough." Not even Emily. She sat there beside her new husband, smiling, like this was all normal, like I deserved it. That's when I realized something. This wasn't just a bad moment. This was who they were. And then, Daniel let go of my hand. At first I thought he was just shifting in his seat, but then I saw him stand up. Slowly, quietly, my heart skipped. "Daniel," I whispered, reaching for him. "Sit down." But he didn't. He walked forward, past our table, past the other guests, straight toward the stage. A 12-year-old boy walking into a room full of adults who had just laughed at his mother. No hesitation, no fear, just purpose. People started noticing. The laughter faded. Whispers spread. Ryan looked confused. Emily frowned. My mother rolled her eyes. And Daniel climbed the small steps to the stage. He reached for the microphone. For a second, no one stopped him, because no one expected what was about to happen. "Hi," he said, his voice steady but soft. The room went silent. "I'm Daniel." He glanced back at me, and for the first time that night, I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Strength. "Some of you know me," he continued. "Most of you probably don't. That's okay." A pause. "But you all know my mom." He swallowed. "And you just laughed at her." The silence deepened. "You called her pathetic." Another pause. "You said she was damaged." I felt my chest tighten. "Can I tell you something?" he said. And then, everything changed. "My mom works 2 jobs, he said. "She wakes up before me and goes to sleep after me." His voice didn't shake. "She helps me with my homework. She makes sure I eat. She never forgets my school events, even when she's tired." People shifted uncomfortably. "She didn't choose to be a single mom," he added. "She became one because someone left her." He looked directly at Ryan. "But at least she didn't lie." A ripple moved through the room. Ryan's smile faded. "What do you mean?" someone whispered. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded envelope. My breath caught. I had never seen that before. "I wasn't going to say anything," he said. "But when you called my mom pathetic, I thought maybe people should know the truth." He unfolded the paper. "This is from a lawyer," he said. "I found it in my mom's old files." My heart stopped. "No. No, no, no. Mom didn't want anyone to know," he continued. "Because she didn't want to hurt the family." Tears filled my eyes. Especially not Aunt Emily. Emily's face went pale. "What is he talking about?" she whispered to Ryan. But Ryan didn't answer, because he already knew. Daniel took a deep breath. "This paper says that Ryan was sued 3 years ago." Murmurs. "For fraud." Gasps. "And not just any fraud." He looked up. "For scamming a woman he was engaged to." The room erupted in whispers. Emily turned sharply. "Ryan." But Daniel wasn't finished. "He took her money," Daniel said. "Used her credit and then disappeared." Ryan stepped forward. "That's not." "Wait," Daniel said firmly. And somehow, a 12-year-old boy held the entire room still. "There's more," he added. My hands were shaking now. Because I remembered. I remembered those papers. The ones I had hidden. The ones I thought no one would ever see. The woman he scammed, Daniel said slowly, was my mom. Silence. Complete. Absolute. Devastating. I couldn't breathe. Emily's face drained of all color. Ryan's expression collapsed. My mother's glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. And Daniel just stood there, holding the truth. My mom didn't tell anyone, he said softly, because she didn't want to ruin your happiness. He looked at Emily. She even told me not to say anything if I ever found out. Tears streamed down my face. But you laughed at her, he said. And I couldn't stay quiet. The next few minutes felt like chaos. Guests whispering. People standing. Phones coming out. Emily shouting at Ryan. Is this true? Ryan trying to deny it. It's a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. Because truth doesn't need volume. It just needs to be heard once. And everyone had heard it. I expected Daniel to be scared, to run back to me. But he didn't. He placed the paper on the podium, looked around the room one last time, and said something I will never forget. My mom isn't pathetic, he said. She's the strongest person I know. Then he stepped down and walked back to me. I stood up before he reached the table, pulled him into my arms, held him tighter than I ever had. You weren't supposed to do that, I whispered through tears. I know, he said. But they weren't supposed to hurt you either. And in that moment, I realized something. I hadn't failed as a mother. Not even close. We didn't stay for the rest of the wedding. We didn't need to, because the truth had already done what anger never could. As we walked out of the ballroom, I heard the echoes behind us. Arguments, accusations, the sound of a perfect day falling apart. Weeks later, I heard the rest. The wedding didn't end happily. It barely ended at all. Emily called it off before the night was over. Ryan's past came out fully. More victims, more lies, more evidence. The kind of truth that can't be buried, no matter how expensive the wedding is. My mother tried to call me. Multiple times. I didn't answer at first. But eventually I did. She didn't apologize. Not really. But her voice was quieter. Smaller. And for the first time, she didn't sound like someone who had power over me. As for me, something shifted that night. Not because of what they said, but because of what Daniel did. He reminded me that truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs courage. And sometimes, that courage comes from the person you thought you were protecting. People still talk about that wedding. Not because of the flowers, not because of the venue, but because of a 12-year-old boy who walked up to a microphone and told the truth. And in doing so, he didn't just expose a liar, he gave his mother something she had lost a long time ago. Her voice.